All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Fiddlehead Brewing Company, and they are out of Shelburne, Vermont, and this is their Fiddlehead IPA. So this is an American IPA that comes in at 6.2% alcohol by volume, 53 IBUs, and at the time of review, this can is just under 6 weeks old. So Fiddlehead, I reviewed one beer from them on the channel, and it was earlier this year. It was their second Fiddle Vermont-style double IPA. Quite delicious, really enjoyed it. So when I saw this one locally in the Mix of Six selection at my local Wegmans grocery store, I was like, you know what, we're grabbing that because, full disclosure, I've never had this one before. I thought I did, I did not. We started getting Fiddlehead pretty regularly over the last year and a half, maybe even 2 years. But I never picked this one up, and I've always wanted to try their Mastermind as well, and that showed up here maybe like last month, and I missed out at a couple different stores. But next time they release that fresh, I will grab that one as well. But I'm excited about this one. When it comes to Fiddlehead, I'm actually reviewing this as a shelfie beer review this month. The reason I'm doing that is because, and I didn't know this, I actually looked it up because I was curious, but they are, as far as like sales volume in the US, they are a top 50 brewery. According to the Brewers Association in 2021, they were 49th. And that kind of surprised me because they only get distro, I think, into like 8 to 10 states, mostly in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, but they're top 50 in sales volume. Pretty crazy. Did not know that. You learn something new every day. So this is like, they call it classic American IPA. It's probably going to be like a Vermont-style IPA, maybe a little bit more juicy, some old school feel to it. A little bit hazy, but not crazy. Maybe it's a little bit more hazy than I assumed because this is looking pretty hazy. Okay, we're not going to pour it all in yet, but we'll get there. So, yeah. That looks hazy. That looks like a juice bomb, honestly. Has that hazy orange kind of yellow color. Has about just over a 2-finger of a light tan, creamy looking head. Very murky and turbid. Can't see through it. That kind of looks like a New England style IPA as opposed to like an old school American IPA or like a Vermont IPA. Nice. Wow, this is really dank and herbaceous, like really herbaceous, almost weed-like. Then there's a huge citrus quality to the nose. It's candied orange, candied citrus in general, but then there's like a sharp kind of like rindy, pithy type of zesty. We'll go with zesty. More zesty than anything. But it's basically orange, grapefruit, lemon, lime, maybe tangerine. Wow, this is real heavy on the citrus. Both candied, zesty, juicy to some degree. I mean, the smell anyway, the aroma. And then there's this like really nice herbal kind of essence to it. Grassy and herbaceous with a nice dankness too. Wow, for 6.2%, this smells very impactful. Like it smells like it's gonna be intense and kind of boisterous in the taste. Just under 6 weeks old, it smells super fresh, holy shit. Yeah, anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. That's nice. It's just nice, solid IPA. Yeah, I mean, this is just a really, you know what this reminds me of? Although I think the other one was a little bit better. Apples to oranges, though, you're talking about a more of like they call it Northeastern IPA or New England style compared to this. But to me, after having them both, I drank it let me just get to the beer because you're like, well, what beer? Tell me what beer. Sloop's Juice Bomb. I did that as a shelfie beer review in August of last year. I'm doing this as a shelfie, of last year, of August of 2022, so last month. Doing this in September of 2022. And having that fresh in my mind, this beer is very akin to that in that for a shelfie beer that I picked up in a mixed 6-pack location, and I think it's $12.99. They upped the price. It used to be $10.99. That was $11.99, $12.99. Still, for $13 for a mixed 6-pack of different beers, that's still a really good value. You're just paying just over $2 a can. And I think we'll get to the price at the end, but I'll just blur it out right now. I believe 12 packs of this at that same Wegmans were like 18 or 19. I think it was like $19 for a 12 pack. So again, less than $2 a can. Value is there. Very akin to Sloop. Not in, I guess, the flavor or even comparing just the beer as a whole. It's just being shelfies that used to have some hype behind them. And now, I mean, they're just good beers. Anyway, let me get back to this one. Body's like lower side of medium, around medium. So maybe a touch thin at 6.2, but I think it's fine. It makes it more refreshing. The mouthfeel, it's soft, it's smooth. I mean, there's carbonation here, but it's really smooth and soft. Very, very, I shouldn't say soft. It's when you say it's, moderately carbonated or has carbonation, it's soft. What I mean by that is it's not like drinking a seltzer. It's not overly carbonated. It's not spritzy on the palate. It's not super effervescent. It has a softness to it, but you still appreciate it because it is carbonated. And it's smooth on the back of the, on the finish, The taste, the nose carried over, maybe a little less dank and herbaceous. Has a little bit more of like a pine resin kind of bitterness on the back of the palate. Right front door, it's all that citrus fruit. It's, again, zesty citrus. It's juicy citrus. It's candy citrus. It's all of the citrus you ever wanted or maybe never wanted. But that's what hits me at the front. There's orange, there's tangerine, there's grapefruit, lemon, lime. I pass this through and there's nice little hint of like a stone fruit of some sort, or maybe even a melon, maybe like a peach or a mango into kind of like a honeydew realm. Really cool. Second half of the palate though is where that grassy, herbal, herbaceous kind of dankness hits. It's not huge like it was in the nose. I think that the dankness quality kind of gets lost and it's more of like a pine resin. Finishes moderately bitter, semi-dry. This is not a super sweet beer. Up front, you get all that juiciness. Second half of the palate, though, it's dry, it's bitter. Not crazy, but it definitely leans to the dry, bitter side of things. It makes it infinitely more drinkable. I've said this before in reviews over the past couple months. I'm starting to appreciate drier beers and more bitter beers, and I think this is maybe leans a little bit too dry and bitter for exactly what I want, like perfection, but I still like it, and it's nice. I think the nose was a bit better, but the taste is really nice. For a 6.2% American IPA, Vermont IPA, Northeastern IPA, New England IPA, whatever you want to reference this one, I think for a shelfy beer, it's well made, it's nice, it's tasty, it's enjoyable, and I'm glad I picked it up. Can't really taste the alcohol or anything, no astringency, 6.2%. I don't expect it to be there, but this is very akin to Juice Bomb. I like Juice Bomb more. I think Juice Bomb was more in that New England realm, in the Northeastern realm, more of a juicy Juice Bomb, so to speak, juicy, softer, kind of creamier mouthfeel. But for like an old school kind of like Vermont IPA or like hybrid or even just an old American IPA that happens to be hazy, I think it's pretty good. Best I can do on this one though, the Fiddlehead IPA from Fiddlehead, I am going to give this a very solid 4 out of 5. I think that's where it lands. Definitely like the second fiddle a little bit more, but I assumed I would because it is a double IPA as opposed to a single. But you could do much worse than this, and the fact that I got this in a mixed sixer, giving it a 4 out of 5, quality through and through. Price point, availability. Price point, like I said, I think these are like $19 a 12-pack in my area. I think they sell them too in the 16-ounce cans. When I'd say the 16-ounce cans are like 13, 14 bucks a 4-pack. It's, good price point for their beer, although I would be, I'd definitely pick up the 12 packs of this at almost 20 bucks as opposed to like a 4-pack for like, 12 to 14 or whatever. But even so, just good value. And availability, I mentioned it in the vlog I did for this month's shelfie beers, and at the beginning saying they get distro into 8 to 12 states. I think they get throughout most of the Northeast and some of the Mid-Atlantic. I don't think it gets further down south or Midwest or anything. But if you're in the Northeast / Mid-Atlantic region of the U.S., you should be able to easily grab this one somewhere off the shelf because they're the 49th best craft brewery as far as sales volume goes, according to the Brewers Association last year. We'll see if that holds true next year when they do it for 2022. But I don't think I've ever seen it in a mixed 6-pack selection at any grocery store I've ever been to, let alone Wegmans. So that is cool. Anyway, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. If you've had this one before they started getting big distro, has there been a drop off in quality? Is it still the same? I'd be curious to know. A lot of times when these, if you heard the name Fiddlehead back in 2016-17, people would go nuts. You go on trips up to Vermont and get Alchemist and Hill Farmstead and everything. But Fiddlehead would be one of those breweries like, hey, they make really good stuff. So I'd be curious if anyone drank this one, say 5 to 6 years ago, and you had one recently. How does it compare? At least in your memory, do you remember it being better? Same quality? Because this is pretty fucking good, honestly. And I think I'd be more blown away by this one, say in 2016 or 17 than I am now. So anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.